Last night I was picking up some Mexican food to bring home. I do that quite often. I have to add to my gut. And I was walking out, and a fellow walked over to me and said, you know, I'm a mainline conservative, but you woke me up. My dad didn't believe in 9/11 being an inside job, but I showed him the footage of Building 7 imploding, and you know, he was a Navy SEAL / UDT, his dad, and he said, that's a controlled demolition. Yeah, they blew it. I mean, that's all you got to do is watch Building 7. So that's why, I mean, look at Jesse Ventura, UDT, Navy SEAL, saying the same thing. Anybody who knows sees that, but then we have all the footage of them saying, get back, we're going to blow up 7. We have the local newscast saying they're thinking about bringing the building down. Let's go ahead and play this 20-second clip, and there's a longer one coming up, with the former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld on Mancow's radio show. The audio is also at mancow.com. Here it is. Building 7 I often hear about. No plane hit Building 7. Why did Building 7 come down? What do you tell people?
What is Building 7?
Or what, it was it Building 5 or the building that wasn't hit by the plane? Building 7.
I have no idea. I've never heard that.
Oh. Do a talk radio show. Oh, you'll hear it.
After actually reading the 9/11 Commission report, I was disappointed to discover that the report completely omits the collapse of the third building that fell in New York on that day, which was World Trade Center 7, which was actually not hit by a plane. And for this reason, I was wondering if you would support a new investigation into 9/11.
From all that I know about this, the investigation really was done on what happened. Every now and then I meet somebody along the trail asking me about this Building 7, but I have no evidence that this really occurred.
I think all of us have a sense, if we imagine the kind of world we would face if the people who bombed the mess hall in Mosul, or the people who did the bombing in Spain, or the people who attacked the United States in New York, shot down the plane over Pennsylvania and attacked the Pentagon.
After the second building collapses, it came out 20 minutes later, looking like a Three Stooges movie covered in plastic, I swear to God. But you got a good thing, man. That's a good shit. Then we went back there. Whoa, 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 whoa!
I have no evidence that this really occurred.
Yeah, I don't plan on having kids. Ask him if he's still transmitting. Is he still transmitting?
With an update as to what's happening there at the moment. Vince?
I can tell you I've just been a place that I have been to that, frankly, no firefighters want to go to. Behind me, you see burning 7 World Trade Center. I didn't know it at the beginning, at the tape you're about to see. I didn't know it was a 7 World Trade Center, but I know it now coming back. A 4-block radius has been cordoned off because fire officials expect that building to collapse.
Cars, debris everywhere. Again, you'll take a look at it. Again, this is not one of the Twin Towers. This is a building that fell just moments ago. It had been burning for hours. There's Building 7, 47 stories down to the ground.
But thank goodness Vince had the foresight to move, and we're looking to hear from Vince here.
I think the most eerie thing was to look at the videotape of Vince and his photographer walking around the area and seeing how desolate it was.
Yes.
No bodies,
right.
Burned cars, debris, parts of buildings, cars, debris everywhere. Again, you'll take a look at it. Again, this is not one of the Twin Towers. This is a building that fell just moments ago. It had been burning for hours. There's Building 7, 47 stories down to the ground.
But thank goodness Vince had the foresight to move.
I have no evidence I have no evidence that this really occurred. I have no evidence that this really occurred.
When you think that part of the component of news coverage around the country every year is the excitement and the fun that people get watching an old building being demolished, and they wire it very carefully for days, and it's a very careful operation in order to make sure that a building comes down safely. I think the last one we saw was when they brought down one of the old casinos in Las Vegas. I mean, this is just stunning to see these things come down.
And then late afternoon, 5 p.m., still another building collapses. 7 World Trade Center.
I told you that sucker was going to go.
That's coming here, isn't it?
What, the cloud?
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
About an hour after the actual explosion, which was about 9:15 in the morning. If you wanted to calculate a time to cause maximum disruption, you would calculate that time as the start of the working day and perhaps the biggest, busiest complex in the world.
I have no evidence that this really occurred.
That's 47 stories tall there. You can see it going. So this happened, some 6 hours or so after the collapse of the World Trade Center. Presumably, it was so close to the World Trade Center that it had been weakened by the explosions and the collapse of those buildings.
And since the most recent collapse, which happened just a short while ago, Building 7, a 47-story building, as part of the World Trade Center complex.
This is Building 7 in the World Trade Center area is collapsing. Now, whether we don't even know whether this was something that was engineered for safety reasons or it just happened as a consequence of the 2 collisions this morning. Standing.
I have no evidence that this really occurred.
That building had been evacuated when the collapse occurred.
This was known as Building 7 of the World Trade Center, and that is fresh video you're looking at of that coming down.
Now, again, they were able to get everybody out of that building before it collapsed. So I don't know whether it was accomplished by demolition experts or whether it just happened as a consequence of what occurred earlier today.
I have no evidence that this really occurred.
Building number 7 was going to collapse. That appears to be what has happened now. I don't know exactly how many stories the building is, Dan, but standing at the base of it, watching it burn about an hour ago, it looked to be something on the order of 50, 60 stories, as you said, a very, very large office building.
It was an abrupt, total, and complete collapse at the speed of free fall.
In fact, you were just told by police that you should move out of your apartment, Fabiana. Yes. You've got Carolina here?
Yes. They advised us to leave because we have...
Oh, my God. Look behind us. Please pan in this way. Please be careful of your baby. This is it.
That's the building coming down.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. No. No. Listen. We'll be all right. We'll be all right.
We're okay. I think we're okay. Ashley, I think we're okay.
Building 7 ablaze at the moment and apparently getting ready to collapse.
I have no evidence that this really occurred.
certainly did. And then moments after Vince and his crew left the scene, this happened.
The collapse of World Trade Center number 7.
We're looking at the tape now, Jeff.
Okay, good. This once again happened only within the last few minutes. We saw one of those smaller buildings just fall to the ground. We had heard earlier that it was structurally unsafe, that the buildings surrounding the Twin Towers had not been safe.
The adjoining 7 World Trade Center crumbled. Thousands injured. A death toll. Mayor
attacks, at least these 2 that were carried out, and obviously connected then, therefore, to the 4 others. Right now, law enforcement sources are saying they are almost 99% certain, is what I'm being told, that Osama bin Laden is behind this. And in addition, obviously, to the cell phone calls, which is much more hard evidence compared to other things that they were getting earlier, they are still looking at all the warning signs. This is the only man who had the financial backing. This is the only man who had the infrastructure for the World Wide Web, the tentacles really all over the world to be able to carry out this. And they also say it would have taken at least many months to plan this type of thing.
We were watching the building actually because it was on fire. The bottom floors of the building were on fire, and you know, we heard this sound that sounded like a clap of thunder. Turned around, we were shocked to see that the building was, well, it looked like there was a shock wave ripping through the building, and the windows all busted out, and you know, it was horrifying. And then, you know, about a second later, the bottom floor caves out, and the building followed after that, and we saw the building crash down all the way to the ground. You know, we were in shock.
Folks standing here on the corner of Leonard Street and West Broadway. We were just sitting here watching all the smoke pouring up from number 7. Number 7 is the kind of reddish-brown building that's towards the north end of the complex. And although we really couldn't see much damage on it, there was smoke pouring out of it here for hours. And folks just kind of standing around milling about it. And then I wasn't watching. I just could tell from the reaction of the crowd what had happened, because I'd heard it already before. The gasp, the screams, people immediately turning and starting to run, even though we're probably a dozen blocks from the center itself. People starting to run away from the scene, and I turned in time to see what looked like a skyscraper implosion. It looked like it had been done by a demolition crew. The whole thing just collapsing down on itself, and another big, huge plume of gray and white smoke shooting up into the air, and then more of the smoke billowing up the street here. So that's number 1, number 2, and now number 7 that have come down from this explosion, and folks just simply can't believe it.
It's amazing. Amazing, incredible, pick your word. For the 3rd time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
I have no evidence that this really occurred.
Building 7.
I have no idea. I've never heard that.